Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan, also known as Medieval Genie. If anyone's wondering why I haven't made any videos in a while, it's not like I was critically injured or anything, I'm just lazy. So anyway, glossing over that, I neglected to mention, I did a video about feint attacks with swords previously, and I forgot something, I do believe, which was a particular way in which you can perform that type of strike, which is quite common and it works, so I thought I'd go through it now, and that will be my quota for the week, and then until half a millennium later when I make another video. So anyway, so I'll just use this sword for a demonstration. So the types I talked about were trying to create a convincing attack, so you create something that looks, you basically replicate something that you've already done before in sparring or training against dummy or whatever, something you've done, a real attack. Now you just simply, rather than try to invent a whole new attack in a whole new feint, completely out of nothing so it doesn't look convincing because you're sort of forcing it and ham acting it, just basically replicate the very same thing you'd done before and then change it last minute. There is another way in which, yes, you can convince the opponent that you're, by starting the movement of an action that you've done before. So we'll just start, this is the real attack, a cut from a right at the head or shoulder or something like that, and then we're simply going to pretend to do that attack and then attack the left part of the head or shoulder, which then turns into that. But another way you can do it is, rather than going part of the way to that action and then changing it, you can do it and sort of, do it in steps. You can kind of turn it into a whole action. So rather than pretending part of the way and then changing around to your actual intended attack, you do it in a way that your new real attack has some parts of the old attack. So instead of pretend this, no I'm doing that, pretend this, no I'm actually doing that, you instead have it that you can use some of the movements of your previous real movements and change into something new. So what do I mean by this? So let's say my previous normal attack is the same thing again. I'm cutting from my right, I'm aiming for the head or the shoulders. I move with my arms and the sword first. I'm usually following it with my body movement. I bring my shoulder in line, I step my right foot forward. I'm usually extending out and doing that wrist movement which gives that flick, all of that stuff. So you're seeing this. So this is the same normal attack. The same normal attack. The same normal attack. So what does the feint look like? Well, instead of this same normal attack, I'm instead doing something that looks initially identical, but instead of changing it at the last minute, you are creating a new attack that looks the same. Now, this can be very subtle and sometimes, and that's why I deliberately did a cut to the leg to make it obvious it was a new attack, but in reality you can have it so subtly different that it can end up from a distance looking like it was the same thing before. And you'll even have, I've experienced this, some opponents are asking, wait, how did that hit? It was the same as before. But it wasn't. It's just so subtly different. One of my usual types of things to do, anyone who knows me in sparring knows that I love what I call hand carving, basically striking at the hands and forearms because they stick out so much. So one of the things you can do is you can be pretending, you can be doing your normal attacks, trying to go for the deeper targets, like cutting the chest, shoulders, the head, the neck, those sorts of areas, or somewhere where you must commit and go deeper for the target, and maybe the opponent's resisting, they're trying to dodge, they're doing all of this stuff. So instead, you can't reach that deep target, so you're try to reach the deep target, nope, didn't, nope, parried, nope, dodged, all of this. So then I change it, and then I cut the hand. So the opponent has adapted, and it might well be a subtle dodge, or the positioning that they do with their weapon, or a shield, or whatever they're doing, to counter that I'm targeting, let's say, the head, or even the torso. Here we are, at the very same level. So I'm normally, in this particular example, I'm going to cut top of the chest, somewhere around here. So they are preparing for that, and they are getting used to it, which, as I've said in previous Feint videos, is a disadvantage. If you're doing the same things, the opponent gets more and more used to it, and you end up failing more and more and more because they're getting used to what you're doing. They are adapting, and they are planning against it. So you exploit that, and then you're performing that attack, and instead target a new area in the same line. I'm performing the same cut from my right, not from my left or above or below. It's a high attack from my right. I'm doing the same, what Fiore would call a fendente attack, a basic cut like this, but by changing a target from the torso to the forearm, that slight change that can be almost invisible if you're watching a sparring video, or your opponent sees it in reality, that little change is enough to completely render their preparations useless. So they've prepared some kind of defence, and then no. This video has already ended up being longer than I thought it would be. But anyway, that's just another way in which you can surprise your opponents. Subtle adjustments rather than dramatic changes like I'd mentioned on a previous video. So until next time, see you later. And I will test cut with this sword that I'd made previously when the sun is out and it's not blowing a gale. Ta-ra!